You walk through life, many of you believing you are strong. You are told, explicitly and implicitly, that you are the inheritors of power, the architects of societies, the providers, the protectors, the unshakable pillars. You are expected to be resolute, decisive, unyielding. Yet, beneath the veneer of responsibility, beneath the carefully constructed mask of composure, many of you sense a profound, gnawing powerlessness, an internal erosion that whispers, "Is this all there is? Am I truly in control of my own destiny? Or am I merely a puppet on strings I cannot see, dancing to a tune I didn't compose?" This is not a weakness unique to you, not a personal failing. It is a pervasive systemic affliction, a series of psychological traps meticulously woven into the fabric of modern masculinity, often invisible, often self-imposed, but devastating in their effect. These are not external enemies, they are internal saboteurs. They are the subtle, insidious forces that drain your vitality, mute your authentic voice, and keep you chained to a life of unexamined expectation, preventing you from stepping into the fullness of your true, sovereign power. This is not a blame game. It is an unveiling. It is an invitation to look unflinchingly at the uncomfortable truths that keep you from building a life of genuine strength, purpose, and self-mastery. For until you identify the bars of your cage, you will never truly find the key. The first, and perhaps most foundational trap, is the myth of stoic isolation. From boyhood, you are taught a brutal, unforgiving lesson. Be a man. Don't cry. Don't complain. Don't show weakness. This cultural imperative, often conflated with strength and self-reliance, forces you to construct an emotional fortress around your deepest self, a fortress without a door, without windows. You are told that vulnerability is a liability, that asking for help is a sign of failure, that expressing genuine emotion, beyond anger or competitive zeal, is somehow unmanly. This is a profound misunderstanding of true Stoicism. Ancient Stoics sought inner peace through reason and virtue, not through the suppression of all human emotion or the severing of all human connection. Yet, modern masculinity has warped this philosophy into a mandate for emotional rigidity, for a life lived in solitary confinement of the soul. You are encouraged to swallow your pain, your fear, your confusion, your loneliness, burying it deep beneath layers of assumed toughness. You become an island, seemingly unshakable, yet cut off from the very currents of empathy, connection, and shared humanity that nourish the spirit. Carl Jung spoke of the importance of integrating the unconscious, of confronting the shadow. But when you build an impenetrable wall around your emotional landscape, you seal off vast parts of your psyche, pushing your pain, your insecurities, your doubts into a dark, unexamined realm. These unacknowledged aspects do not simply disappear. They fester, they twist, they manifest as anxiety, depression, rage, addiction, or a pervasive sense of emptiness. The perceived strength of emotional suppression becomes the very source of your internal disempowerment, leaving you burdened by unspoken weights, incapable of receiving the nourishment of genuine connection. Perpetually alone, even in a crowd. What power is there in an unbreakable shell if it prevents you from ever truly connecting, from ever truly feeling, from ever truly being seen? What strength is there in standing alone if it means you are incapable of ever truly leaning on another or allowing another to lean on you? This isolation, born of a twisted ideal, leaves you profoundly vulnerable. For a fortress without a door is also a prison. The second trap is the performance paradigm. Your identity, your worth, your very sense of self becomes inextricably tied to external achievement, to constant output, to the endless pursuit of metrics, the promotion, the salary, the acquisition, the perfect physique, the number of conquests, the admiration of peers, the curated image of success. You are perpetually on stage, performing for an invisible audience, desperately seeking validation from without because you have been taught not to trust the quiet wisdom from within. From school onwards, your value is quantified, grades, athletic scores, job titles, net worth. This creates an insidious feedback loop where your sense of self-worth becomes a fragile, external construct, dependent on the next achievement, the next win, the next public acknowledgement. This is a treadmill you can never step off. The moment you pause, the moment the applause fades, the moment the next goal isn't immediately achieved, a terrifying void opens up. Who are you, if not what you do? What is your worth, if not what you produce or possess? This constant striving, this relentless doing, becomes an addiction. You confuse activity with progress, and accomplishment with fulfillment. But like a dog chasing its own tail, the very act of chasing external validation ensures you can never catch genuine self-acceptance. The targets keep moving, the goalposts constantly shift, defined by a society that thrives on your perpetual striving, on your consuming and producing. You are perpetually climbing, believing the peak will bring peace, only to find another, higher peak immediately looming, demanding more of your finite energy, more of your precious time. What power is there in a life where your worth is a constantly fluctuating stock price, dictated by external market forces? What freedom is there in an existence where you are perpetually performing, never truly at rest, never truly enough? This performance paradigm turns your life into an exhausting, unwinnable competition, where every moment not spent achieving is felt as a moment of failure. The third psychological trap is the shadow of perpetual adolescence. Despite the cultural expectation for men to be leaders and providers, there is an equally strong yet hidden societal and self-imposed resistance to genuine emotional and spiritual maturity. This manifests as a prolonged reliance on external structures for identity, a flight from deep responsibility for one's inner world, and an avoidance of the profound introspection necessary for adult self-mastery. Many men remain trapped in patterns of behavior that belong to a younger self, an unexamined consumerism, an avoidance of difficult emotional conversations, a preference for superficial relationships over genuine intimacy, a reliance on escapism through gaming, pornography, alcohol, drugs, or endless work, rather than confronting inner turmoil. This isn't about enjoying leisure. It's about a deep-seated resistance to the messy, challenging, and often painful work of becoming a fully integrated adult. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Yet, for many men, the path of perpetual adolescence is precisely the unexamined life. It's a refusal to embrace the king archetype in its fullest sense, not as a ruler over others, but as a sovereign over one's own domain, one's emotions, one's values, one's purpose, one's commitments. Instead, many remain stuck in the boy archetype, seeking constant novelty, shying away from commitment, fearing accountability, perpetually waiting for someone else to provide direction or meaning. This resistance to maturity leaves men disempowered because true power lies in ownership. Ownership of your choices, your mistakes, your emotional landscape, your path. When you outsource your responsibility for self-definition, when you abdicate the throne of your inner kingdom, you remain forever a subject, a child, dependent on external validation and external structures to define who you are and what you should do. What power is there in eternal youth if it condemns you to perpetual immaturity, incapable of true depth or lasting purpose? What strength is there in avoiding discomfort if it means you can never truly grow, never truly evolve into the man you are meant to be? This trap keeps you small, safe, and utterly devoid of genuine adult agency. The fourth trap is the addiction to external stimulation. In an age of unprecedented digital connectivity and entertainment, many men have become profoundly reliant on constant external input to regulate their internal states. This manifests as a compulsive need for distraction, for immediate gratification, for a ceaseless stream of novelties that prevent the uncomfortable silence of genuine introspection. From endless scrolling through social media, to binge-watching content, to compulsive gaming, to the pervasive reach of pornography, there is an ever-present, readily available escape hatch from reality. These aren't inherently evil, but their compulsive use becomes a powerful anesthetic, numbing you to the deeper anxieties, the unfulfilled desires, the existential questions that inevitably arise in moments of quiet. When the phone is always in your hand, when the next episode is always auto-playing, when the digital world offers endless avatars and fleeting validation, you lose the capacity to simply be with yourself. This addiction creates a profound passivity. You become a consumer of experiences, rather than a creator of your own. Your attention, your most valuable commodity, is constantly fragmented, pulled in a million directions, preventing sustained focus, deep work, or meaningful connection. The dopamine hits become fleeting, leading to a perpetual state of wanting more, needing more, but never truly feeling satisfied. This perpetual state of craving keeps you perpetually disempowered, forever chasing the next fleeting sensation, unable to sit in the discomfort that often precedes genuine insight and transformation. What power is there in a mind that is constantly hijacked, constantly craving the next hit of digital stimulation? What freedom is there in a life where your most precious resource, your attention, is outsourced to algorithms designed to keep you distracted and disengaged from your own life? This trap turns you into a spectator in your own existence, passively consuming rather than actively creating. The fifth trap, and perhaps the most insidious, is the tyranny of the unexamined life. This is the fundamental refusal to engage in deep self-reflection, to question your assumptions, to confront your unconscious biases, your unresolved traumas, your true motivations. Many men live on autopilot, following well-worn grooves of expectation, routine, and societal programming, without ever truly pausing to ask, why am I doing this? Is this truly what I want? Who am I, beyond the roles I play? This avoidance of self-inquiry leads to a profound lack of self-knowledge. You become a stranger to yourself, governed by impulses, fears, and beliefs that operate beneath the surface, dictating your choices without your conscious consent. Like a ship without a rudder, you are tossed by the currents of external circumstances, reacting rather than consciously navigating, because you have never truly taken the time to plot your own course, to understand your own internal compass. This is the very essence of powerlessness, to be driven by forces you do not understand, to live a life that feels dictated by external pressures rather than internal conviction. The unexamined life is a life lived in a fog, where authentic power, the power of conscious choice, intentional action, and genuine self-mastery, remains perpetually out of reach. It is a life lived by default, not by design. You might achieve great things outwardly, but inwardly, you remain a captive of your own unconscious patterns. What power is there in building an empire if you do not even rule your own mind? What strength is there in decisive action if it stems from unexamined fears and ingrained societal scripts rather than genuine wisdom? This trap keeps you blindfolded, walking a path not of your choosing, mistaking movement for progress. The sixth trap, often overlooked, is the fear of the feminine within. In a world that often equates masculinity with hardness, rationality, and aggressive assertion, qualities traditionally associated with the feminine, such as empathy, intuition, vulnerability, emotional receptivity, nurturing, and collaboration, are often suppressed, denied, or actively denigrated in men. This creates a profound psychological imbalance, a severe truncation of the male psyche. Carl Jung's concept of the anima, the feminine aspect within the male psyche, and animus, the masculine aspect within the female psyche, speaks to the necessity of integrating these complementary energies for wholeness. When men reject their anima, when they refuse to cultivate their emotional intelligence, their capacity for deep connection, their intuition, they become incomplete. They become rigid, brittle, prone to emotional outbursts, or utterly shut down. They struggle to form genuine, intimate bonds, often falling into patterns of control or emotional unavailability. This suppression of the feminine within is not about gender identity. It's about the integration of essential human qualities. A man who fears his own vulnerability, who rejects his capacity for empathy, who cannot connect with his intuitive wisdom, is a man operating at half his potential. He is cut off from a vital source of strength, creativity, and resilience. True power is not monolithic. It is a dynamic interplay of strength and tenderness, assertion and receptivity, logic and intuition. When you deny one half, you weaken the whole. What power is there in a man who cannot feel deeply, cannot connect authentically, cannot nurture himself or others? What strength is there in a fortress built of pure logic if it crumbles under the weight of unacknowledged emotion? This trap keeps men emotionally stunted, relationally isolated, and spiritually impoverished, mistaking numbness for resilience. The seventh and final trap is the burden of the unspoken expectation. This is the crushing, often unconscious weight of what you should be, what you should do, what your life should look like, dictated by societal norms, family history, peer pressure, and internalized ideals of masculinity. These expectations are often unarticulated, implicit, yet profoundly powerful, shaping your choices, your behaviors, and your very sense of self-worth. You are subtly coerced into pursuing specific career paths, acquiring certain material possessions, marrying certain types of partners, expressing emotions in prescribed ways, and upholding an image of flawless competence. This creates a life lived to fulfill external mandates, rather than internal desires. You become a performer of manhood, rather than an authentic expression of it. The fear of not measuring up, of being seen as less than, weak, or a failure, becomes a relentless motivator, driving you away from your true path and towards a life of quiet desperation. This is the ultimate form of powerlessness. To live a life that is not truly your own, but a series of reactions to perceived external demands. It leads to profound resentment, internal conflict, and an overwhelming sense of never being truly free. The weight of these unspoken expectations creates a perpetual state of anxiety, a constant vigilance against perceived failure, eroding your inner peace and preventing you from defining your own terms of success and fulfillment. What power is there in a man who lives under a perpetual, invisible judgment, constantly seeking approval for a life he didn't truly choose? What freedom is there in perpetually conforming to an ideal that may not even serve his deepest needs? This trap binds you to a life of external validation, ensuring your internal compass remains perpetually disoriented. Breaking the bonds, reclaiming authentic power. So, how do you break free from these insidious psychological traps? How do you dismantle the invisible chains that keep you powerless, even as you strive for strength? It begins with radical self-awareness. This requires an unprecedented level of honesty. Look at your life, your habits, your relationships, your ambitions, your escapes. Ask yourself, is this truly mine? Is this empowering me or diminishing me? Am I operating from a place of genuine desire or unconscious fear? This is not about judgment. It is about objective observation, about seeing the mechanisms that have kept you trapped. Next, cultivate courageous vulnerability. The very thing you have been taught to fear is your greatest strength. Begin, slowly, to express your true feelings, your genuine struggles, your deepest doubts, to a trusted few. Seek genuine connection, not just transactional relationships. Let go of the illusion of perpetual competence. This act of breaking free from stoic isolation will release an immense amount of suppressed energy and allow for true intimacy and support. Embrace meaningful stillness. Turn off the noise. Disconnect from the endless stream of external stimulation. Sit in silence. Walk in nature. Meditate. Allow the uncomfortable feelings, the anxieties, the existential questions to arise. Do not flee them. Do not numb them. Sit with them, observe them, and understand that they are messengers, guiding you to the unexamined parts of your soul that demand your attention. This stillness is not weakness. It is the crucible in which true clarity is forged. Practice intentional choice. Refuse to operate on autopilot. Before you act, before you agree, before you pursue another goal, pause. Ask yourself, does this choice align with my deepest values? Is it born from an authentic desire or an unconscious need to perform, to escape, to conform? This is the arduous work of building true sovereignty over your life, one conscious decision at a time. This is how you reclaim your power, by taking ownership of your mind, your emotions, your purpose. Finally, begin the terrifying, yet profoundly liberating, process of integrating your fragmented self. Acknowledge and embrace the feminine within you, your capacity for empathy, intuition, nurturing, connection, and emotional expression. This is not a diminishment of your masculinity, but an expansion of it. True power is wholeness. A man who has integrated all aspects of his being is a formidable force, not because he suppresses parts of himself, but because he has brought them all into the light of consciousness, weaving them into a rich, resilient tapestry. The path to genuine male power is not found in rigid adherence to outdated societal scripts, nor in the frantic pursuit of external validation, nor in the endless cycle of distraction. It is found in the courageous, often painful, journey inward. It is found in the willingness to dismantle the invisible psychological traps that have kept you in a state of quiet powerlessness. Will you continue to be a pawn in a game designed to keep you small, distracted, and perpetually seeking external answers to internal questions? Will you continue to wear the heavy mask of unyielding stoicism, suffocating your true self beneath its weight? Or will you have the immense courage to look at your own chains, to challenge the narratives that have defined you, to step into the terrifying, yet infinitely rewarding, work of truly knowing yourself, healing yourself, and ultimately, reclaiming your own authentic power? The choice, as always, is yours. But understand this, until you make that conscious, deliberate choice, until you truly begin the work of breaking free from these traps, you remain a captive, however gilded your cage. Your power is not out there. It lies within. Reclaim it.